Okay, let's face it, most of us like to talk. We like to talk more than listen. And wise people always are impressed by silence more than speech. One of the things that make a wise person wise is the fact that they listen more than they speak. And as they say, silence is golden, speech is silver. Silence is golden, speech is silver. And if you look at our schools and our colleges, they teach us how to speak, they teach us how to read, they teach us how to write, but they don't teach us how to listen. Have you ever attended a seminar or a course in college where they teach you how to how to listen? There's a book by Mortimer Adler which talks about how to speak and how to listen. But it's very, very rarely, that you have it. Even though most of the time we should hopefully spend, in listening, but they are not as much emphasized as some of the other disciplines like reading, writing, and speaking. Somebody has said that there are four characteristics, or four kinds of person. One is, a person who is quick. The four kinds of person. One who is quick to hear and slow to forget. He's quick to hear and quick to forget. His gain is cancelled by his loss. He's quick to hear, which is gain, nice, but quick to forget. What you hear, you also forget easily. So your gain is, cancelled, by the loss. And a second kind of person is slow to hear and slow to forget. His loss, is cancelled by his gain. He's slow to hear, which is a loss, but he's also slow to forget, which is a kind of a gain. So his loss is cancelled, by his gain. And then you have a third kind of person who is quick to hear and slow to forget. He is a wise man. He is quick to hear, but slow to forget. He hears, listens quickly, but he doesn't forget. He doesn't forget easily. So he is a wise man. And then you have the fourth kind of person who is slow to hear and quick to forget. Slow to hear and quick to forget. He is a fool. He is a wicked person, because you are slow to hear and you very easily or very quickly forget, what you hear. So it's an interesting thing, to find out what are some things we need to be quick. So the title of my message is The Quick and the Slow. You find it at the back of the bulletin. So it's an interesting, study. What are some things we need to be quick? What are some things we need to be slow? Maybe it's a good, assignment to make a list. Or what are some things, you have to be quick. We need to be quick to help others, but we need to be slow to be judgmental. I could go on and on, but we usually do the opposite. So we need to be able to, we need to be able to quick to, listen. We need to be slow to speak. We need to be slow to anger. So there is one quick, and there is two things we need to be, we need to be slow. If you look at even in the Old Testament, you would find, there's one verse which says that he who multiplies, words, He multiplies sin. Another verse says, be swift to hear the word, that thou mayest understand. If thou hast understanding, answer thy neighbor. If not, lay thy hand upon thy mouth, and lest thou be surprised in an unskillful word and be confounded. Now in Indian, he likes, if you give him a mic, he is happy. In Indians love to talk. I think the world record for the longest speech in the United Nations is by the Indian ambassador to the United Nations. 16 hours non-stop speech. The Hugo Chavez, I think he has spoken longer, but not in the UN, in the state Venezuela channel, which he is the one who owns it, But Indians also like to be silent, meditation. There's one Indian man who has been silent for 64 years. He has not spoken. And people go to listen to him because they feel that because he has been silent, he has something important to say. Yes, so they go, in multitudes, in huge crowds, they go to listen. There was a time when Mahatma Gandhi, was asked to speak, and so Mahatma Gandhi went. A lot of, huge crowd had gathered to listen to Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi goes, sits on the stage, and doesn't say anything for over 30 or 40 minutes, and then he gets up and leaves, and the people are satisfied. They felt that he has spoken. Something that is important, in his silence. Silence speaks louder than words. We need to cultivate the habit of silence. We need fasting from words. We need to be able to fast from words. Bonhoeffer says, that what is important to say are very few, and you just need few words to be able to say it. So out of the depth of silence, you would know. So if you're silent, and if you're contemplating, and if you're meditating, then you would know what words to say, when to say. And you will not be just speaking and speaking, words that that has no meaning. And sometimes people, they don't think much, and they use a lot of words. Actually, usually people who don't think much, they speak a lot. It's something to think about. So there are many people suffering from constipation of thought and diarrhea of words. Constipation of thought and diarrhea of words. So I think we need to be able to think, think clearly, think before you speak. So in Ecclesiastes chapter 5, where it talks, where this is what it says: guard your steps when you go to the house of God. To draw near, to listen is better than to offer the sacrifice of fools, for they do not know that they are doing evil. And then it says, be not rash with your mouth, nor let your heart be hasty to utter a word before God. For God is in heaven, and you are on earth. Therefore, let your words be few. Hallelujah. And it says, those who speak a lot, what does it say? Sacrifice of fools. A good example of sacrifice of fools is, Peter. Peter, the apostle, he had the gift of saying the wrong things at the right moment, or the right things at the wrong moment. He always is impulsive. And once Jesus had to say, "Get thee behind me, Satan." And and Peter was once with James and John. They were on the Mount of Transfiguration, and Jesus, they had saw a vision of Jesus Christ completely transformed. His face was glowing. He was completely illuminated. His clothes were, white. And then, Jesus was with Moses and Elijah. It's a wonderful, illuminating, transformative moment. And what does Peter do? He says, "Lord, let us build 3 tabernacles, 3 tents for you, for Moses, and for Elijah." And that sacrifice of fools. Wow, what a moment it was. Christ for a moment showed His glory. And yet Peter, even there, instead of taking it in and being quiet and silent, he immediately starts talking, "Lord." That's a good example of sacrifice of fools. God is in heaven, so let your words, let your words be, let your words be few. And the book of Proverbs in particular, has a lot to say. In Proverbs chapter 10, verse 19, it says, "When words are many, transgression is not lacking, but he who restrains his lips is wise." Because the more you talk, the more chances for us to sin. But if you are not talking and if you're listening, you become wise. Anyway, God has given us 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we would listen twice as much as we speak. So He's alive. We like to talk. Our tongue is like a double-edged sword. We like to slander. We like to gossip. And I think we need a moratorium on our speech. I teach, so I have to do a lot of talking. But at the same time, I'm not teaching. I'm not. It's not my besetting sin, to talk. There was a time for 1 week I had no voice. I had no voice. I could not talk. I had no problem. I had no problem at all. It was okay for me. But some people, that would have been like torture. If you are not, if you're not able to talk. In Proverbs chapter 13, verse 3, it says, he who guards his mouth preserves his life. He who opens wide his lips come to ruin. He who guards his mouth, preserves his life. In India you have a saying, that a frog is ruined by his mouth. Because the frog, when it's croaking, a snake knows where it is. And so it becomes easy food for the snake. So it says the frog is ruined by its mouth. And many of us, we are like the frogs. Here's another one, Proverbs chapter 17, verse 20. Even a fool who keeps silent is considered wise. If a fool is silent, you don't know if he's a fool. You may think he's wise, but once he starts opening his mouth, you know he's a fool. That's what it says. Proverbs chapter 29, verse 20. Do you see a man who is hasty in his words? There is more hope for a fool than for such a man. A lot of the problems in the world